Hi everyone, welcome to Chinese Anchor. If you ever travel to China and you are into history, you have to visit Xi'an, the home of the Terracotta army. These warriors are not just sculptures that have been sleeping underground for over 2,000 years. They are a stunning blend of cutting-edge technology and a timeless legend. Scientists discovered that the purple pigment on the terracotta warriors shows signs of superconductivity at the quantum level. Here's the crazy part. This shade of purple was one impossible to make. Even modern chemists struggled for centuries. But more than 2,200 years ago, Emperor Qin Shi Huang had already commanded his craftsmen to create this mysterious pigment, Chinese purple. The next time humanity managed to reproduce it, not until 19th century Britain. So here's the question. Was this just an ancient genius, or was Qin Shi Huang a time traveler from the future? History paints him as a ruler of iron and blood, cold, absolute, and merciless. Yet as archaeologists excavated more of his tomb's surrounding pits, a different image began to emerge. They discovered that Qin Shi Huang was, in fact, a man of remarkable taste and emotion. He loved music, acrobatics, and even trained birds and performances. Through these findings, we glimpse another side of the emperor that history books never told. And today, we will not only decode the color technologies of the terracotta warriors, but also uncover how to distinguish civil and military officials among them, but also journey deep into that underground empire to reveal secrets that have slept for more than 2,000 years. At the foot of Mount Li, east of Xi'an, the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang lies in silent majesty. The entire complex spans 56 square kilometers, roughly the size of 78 football fields. And its heart stands a great earthen mound, 67 meters high, beneath which lies the burial chamber, hidden some 30 meters underground. Archaeologists describe it as a Chang'an city beneath the earth, complete with streets, palaces, armies, and even rivers and mountains recreated in miniature. During his lifetime, Qin Shi Huang spent 38 years and commanded 700,000 laborers to construct his colossal underground empire. To him, the afterlife was not death. It was a continuation of his rule, a realm that his power would still command the world. In the spring of 1974, a few farmers from Xi'an village near Linton County were digging a well. Suddenly, they unearthed fragments of pottery and what seemed like pieces of human limbs made of clay. They had no idea that what they had just uncovered would soon shake the entire world. As archaeologists arrived and the excavation began, an underground world slowly revealed itself. Rows upon rows of life-sized warriors, each one unique in expression and stance. Their weapons still sharp, it was as if time itself had frozen. Even after 2,000 years, the mighty army of Qin Shi Huang still stood guard over their emperor. We've mentioned that over 700,000 laborers worked to construct the Qin Mausoleum. But who were these people? According to the records of the Grand Historian and other archaeological findings, these workers came from diverse backgrounds. Convicts, peasants, soldiers, slaves, craftsmen, and technicians. The terracotta warriors themselves were clearly the work of skilled artisans. Archaeologists discovered tiny inscriptions carved on the broken pottery shards. But what did these markings mean? For instance, one shot bore the characters Gong and Zhang. Experts infer that Gong indicated the workshop or department, while Zhang referred to the individual craftsman. But why engrave their names on the statues? This was part of Qin's strict quality control and accountability system, a policy described in the Lü Shi Chunqiu, Master's Lu's Spring and Autumn Annals. Every item produced for the state had to bear the names of both the maker and the supervisor. If a product was defective, say a weapon dialed too quickly or a statue cracked, the authorities could track it back to the responsible artisan for punishment. So every tiny character carved into those clay bodies, not just a signature, it was a mark of imperial order and discipline. As you step into the excavation pits of the Terracotta Army, you will notice the floor beneath your feet, paved with rows of perfectly aligned blue-gray bricks. Archaeologists estimate that over 300,000 bricks were used. Each one was laid with precise calculation, fitted so tightly that even after more than 2,000 years, the joints remain smooth and flawless. The warriors stand between 1.85 to 2 meters tall, taller than the average Qin soldiers of the time. But why would the emperor make them larger than life? Were the Qin people all giants? Of course not. It was a symbol of power. Qin Shi Huang wanted his clay army to embody not mere models, but an incredible force, stronger, prouder, and mightier than any living soldier. In the dim light of the underground chambers, their figures would have gleamed in the flicker of a torchlight, solemn, commanding, and almost divine. He wanted these warriors to represent a spirit of eternal dominance, a force that would guard his underground empire forever. Each warrior's face is unique. Thousands of them, each with distinct expressions and postures. They seem alive, as if waiting silently for their emperor's command. But here's a mystery. How did the artisans create such a vast army without repeating a single face? Where did they find so many different features to sculpt? The answer is remarkable. The terracotta warriors are not identical copies. They form what could be called the portrait gallery of the Qin Empire. These faces were not molded on any one person, but rather on countless faces the craftsmen had seen in daily life, blended with the diverse ethnic traits across Qin's vast territory. Through a mix of modular design and artistic imagination, the artisans created a living army in clay, a reflection of the real one above ground, faithfully replicated to stand eternal watch in the silent depths of history. How were thousands of terracotta warriors actually made? Was each one sculpted from start to finish by hand? Experts soon found the answer, and it's fascinating. The warriors were not created in a single process, but rather assembled piece by piece, like an ancient form of 3D modular art. Each figure was crafted in separate sections: the torso, head, arms, legs, armor, and even the shoes, all made individually before being joined together. You might not know this. When the terracotta warriors were first unearthed, they were not gray. They were vividly colorful, painted in red, green, blue, purple, black, white, and pink, a total of 7 colors. Among them, white, black, and especially purple were the most extraordinary. The white pigment wasn't just a simple white paint. It came from burnt animal bones, ground into powder and applied carefully onto the clay. The black wasn't ordinary black either. It was made by collecting soot from the burning wood, then using the soot as a pigment. So even the most basic colors were created with incredible craftsmanship and thought. But the real miracle was purple. This Chinese purple was quite literally a color ahead of its time, because over 2,200 years ago, no civilization on Earth had yet discovered a true purple pigment. And yet, during the Qin dynasty, Chinese craftsmen somehow created one. How did they do it? According to the archaeologists, they mixed quartz, malachite, barium carbonate, and lead oxide, then fired the mixture at 800 to 1000 degrees. It required remarkable chemical understanding and precise control, the kind of mystery that feels almost futuristic. Under the microscope, scientists found traces of both blue and purple, showing that ancient chemists first synthesized blue, then transformed it into purple, a process demanding exact temperature and mineral ratios. In a sense, Qin artisans had already invented inorganic chemistry 2,000 years before its time. But here's the question that baffles us all. How did Qin Shi Huang even know that purple existed? And why did he order his craftsmen to create it? At that time, no other culture in the world had ever seen the color purple. The next time purple appeared in history was in 19th century Britain, when in 1856, an 18-year-old chemist named William Perkin accidentally created the first synthetic dye, mauve, while experimenting with coal-tar. That became the famous mauve purple that swept across Europe. But that was 2 millennia later. So how did Qin Shi Huang, 2,000 years earlier, manage to create his own purple? Sometimes it almost feels like the emperor or his alchemists traveled through time, and one cannot help but wonder, Qin Shi Huang, how did you find such geniuses in your time? Were they travelers from the future like you? And finally, there's the question of the lamp itself. Why 7 colors? In ancient China, 7 was a number of the cosmos, a number of completion, 7 days from one cycle, 7 times 7, 49 days, mark a great cosmic turn. To the ancients, 7 symbolized the rhythm of the universe. Terracotta warriors may stand in silence, but among them lies the strict hierarchy of rank and power. So how can we tell who's a general and who's a soldier? The answer is hidden in their headgear, armor, posture, and gestures. For example, this warrior wears a crane-shaped crown and a scaled composite armor and crossed his hands solemnly before his chest. He represents the highest rank among the Terracotta army, a general. Another figure wears a flat crown, ranking just below the generals, serving as commanders or officers responsible for replying orders and leading the troops. Some, however, wear no armor at all. These were the frontline fighters, agile, fearless, and ready for close combat. Each warrior poised for battle embodies the spirit of discipline and command. In fact, archaeologists have found chariots, cavalrymen, and crossbowmen, revealing that this was once a highly advanced fighting force for its time. Archaeologists discovered a special section, slightly elevated with a broader layout. It was like the command post, forming a complete battle formation beneath the earth. The entire mausoleum spans 2,180 meters long and 970 meters wide. with the burial mound rising 50 meters high, and beneath it lies a 9-tiered platform reaching 26 meters deep. Some historians believe this structure symbolized Qin Shi Huang's desire to stand tall even in death, overlooking the empire he had forged. Below this 9-tiered platform is the entrance to the inner palace, the mysterious mausoleum of the first emperor. According to Sima Qian's records of the grand history, the underground palace contained rivers and seas, but not with water. They flowed with the liquid mercury. And astonishingly, modern scientific surveys have confirmed that the soil around the tomb contains abnormally high level of mercury, suggesting that Sima Qian's ancient account might in fact be true. The ceiling of the chamber too was described as a starry sky, inlaid with precious gems to represent the constellations, a vision of the cosmos carved into eternity. The tomb wasn't just a burial site. It was a dream of an eternal empire, illuminated by what ancient texts called the eternal lamps. But what fuel could make such lamps burn forever underground? Some say they were fueled by the oil of mermaids. Others believe the shark fat was used to sustain the flame. It's hard not to wonder, how did Qin Shi Huang imagine such a thing? What kind of a mind conceived of a light that would shine eternally in a kingdom of darkness? Among the thousands of terracotta warriors, one figure stands out. His expression is solemn, he wears a long robe, and his gaze projects an unusual, commanding dignity. Besides him, archaeologists found a bronze yue in ancient China symbolized the authority to execute. This was not a weapon for ordinary soldiers. To possess a bronze yue meant holding the power to enforce the law and carry out capital sentences on behalf of the emperor. From this evidence, scholars infer that this figure most likely represents a Tingwei, a high-ranking official in charge of criminal law and military justice. He is, in essence, the emperor's instrument of law. Nearby, another terracotta figure presents a different image. Clad in a long robe without armor or arms, he carried a sharpening stone at his waist. This stone is not a weapon. It is a symbol of a preparation and a careful work. Archaeologists believe figures like this belonged to the civil administration. The sharpening stone may have been used metaphorically like an ancient eraser, polishing or correcting records during meetings. Having explored Qin Shi Huang's imagination and the rank system embedded in terracotta warriors, we turn to another side of his life, his passion. From the objects found in other burial pits, it becomes clear that Qin Shi Huang was a devoted music lover and an enthusiast of live performances. Buried with him was not only an army, but a complete orchestra and a performance troupe, proof that the emperor wanted entertainment to continue in the afterlife. In 2000, about 2 kilometers north of the main mausoleum, archaeologists uncovered a remarkable sacrificial pit. Inside were 46 bronze waterfowl, geese, cranes, swans, each cast in different lifelike poses, some with the legs arched, some pecking, some in motions as if playing in the water. Just like the warriors, each bird was individually molded and captured in natural posture. Nearby were 15 terracotta figures seated as if rolling, paired with musical instruments found in the vicinity. Archaeologists concluded these were musicians, but they were not merely performers. They appear to have played music to tame and train the birds. so that during performances, the crowns would respond and dance to the melodies. Imagine that, during the performance, the emperor's crowns join the show, moving in time with the music. One cannot help but marvel. Qin Shi Huang, how did you even think of that? Who else in the ancient world knew how to create such theatrical luxury? Qin Shi Huang's taste for spectacle did not end with music and birds. In 1999, excavations on the eastern side of the Mausoleum uncovered a set of 100 acts, 百戏 figures, performers rather than soldiers. These figures are often bare-chested, wearing short skirts, muscular and robust, indicating they were a troupe of acrobats who performed for the court. Clearly, after the burden of statecraft, the emperor found relief in watching daring physical feats. One terracotta figure, for example, has a powerful lifting posture, likely depicting the ancient lifting din game, a popular stunt of the time. Examining their clothing closely, archaeologists found painted patterns along collars, sleeves, and belts. Using remaining texture fibers, they reconstructed the garments. Most were made of silk, richly decorated. During the restoration of one terracotta figure, archaeologists made a breathtaking discovery. A warrior unlikely anything before, lying flat on his back, in a rare supine position. Even more astonishing, they found a perfectly preserved fingerprint, left there by the artisan who made him. Analysis revealed that the fingerprint belonged to a young craftsman, likely a teenager apprentice. A human torch from over 2,000 years ago, transcending layers of soil and centuries, reaching directly into our present. On the western side of the mausoleum, archaeologists unearthed two magnificent bronze chariots. Crushed by centuries of soil, it took 8 painstaking years to restore them completely. Each chariot is made up of 1,555 individual parts, all cast, welded, and assembled entirely by hand. Over 2,200 years ago, Qin craftsmen achieved what we would today call a masterpiece of mechanical engineering, a half-scale model of the emperor's ultimate supercar. Each horse stands about 1.2 meters tall, their heads adorned with gold and silver fittings, bronze beads between their teeth, and reins inlaid with alternating gold and silver, a symbol of yin and yang in perfect balance. The charioteer holds 6 reins in his right hand, a sword in his left, his face calm yet commanding. The bronze chariots of Qin are marvels of both art and science. Their structure is intricate, their details are realistic, and their craftsmanship unmatched. The artisans employed a range of advanced techniques: casting, inlaying, welding, mouth-standing joints, and marble hinges. The horses' bodies and the carriage roofs were made hollow, a feat requiring mastery of mold design, precise temperature control, and perfect timing of molten bronze flow and cooling. A single mistake and the entire casting would fail. Inside, the rear compartment holds a soft cushioned seat, the interior painted with Imperial dragon motifs, reserved only for the emperor himself. Even the windows were cleverly designed with ventilation holes, keeping the space airy yet private. From outside, no one could see in, but from within, Qin Shi Huang could see the world clearly. More than 2 millennia have passed. The empire of Qin Shi Huang has long turned to dust. Yet his warriors, his chariots, and his policies still rest silently beneath the earth, carrying his will into eternity. They no longer march, nor do they speak, but in their silent grace, they whisper to the future. Power fades, but creation and the wisdom behind it endures forever. Alright folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from China. See you next time. Bye.